Hello and welcome to one more episode of Quantum Tutorials. In this video, we are going to look at how to download and install the latest version of Visualizer and Fabric V9SP5 version. In the previous video, we had a look at the microapp style of building apps using Visualizer and Fabric. In this video, we are going to download the latest V9SP5 version of Visualizer and Fabric and set up on my machine. In the next video, using this latest version of Visualizer and Fabric V9SP5, we are going to build an app using microapps style of building apps in Visualizer and Fabric. As you are seeing here, log into Basecamp and go to the download section of Quantum and download the latest version of Visualizer and Fabric. V9SP5 is the latest version of Visualizer and Fabric that I am downloading on my system. Once you have downloaded the installer, extract the zip file and you will see an exe file using which you can install the Visualizer. Double click on the exe file and let the installer get launched. As you can see here, the Visualizer installer is launched and it is extracting. The Visualizer installer is launched. Click on Next to continue the installation of Visualizer. Select the destination folder where you want to install Visualizer. Select the folder where you want to set up workspace for Visualizer. Click on Next, accept the terms and conditions and click on Next. Visualizer got installed now, and if you want to launch Visualizer, keep the checkbox checked and click on Next. Here I am unchecking the checkbox and clicking on Done just to see that the Visualizer installation is successful. This is how the folder looks like where you have installed Visualizer, and this is the location where we have set up the workspace for creating the projects within Visualizer. Go to the installation location and click on the exe file and the Visualizer will get launched. As you can see here, the Visualizer is being launched. For the first time after installing Visualizer, when you launch it, it will ask for the credentials using which you can log in into the Fabric Cloud instance. Provide your cloud credentials and click on Login. So by default, when you install Visualizer, it is connected to manage.kony.com. So you'll have to enter your credentials that are present in manage.kony.com. And as you proceed with launching the Visualizer, for the first time, you will be asked to create a project. Here I am creating the sample project, clicking on Next, and let the Visualizer create the project for us. Click on escape if you want to escape the help that is shown, and click on the design view so that you will be able to look at the project that you have just now created inside Visualizer. On the top right, you will be able to see the user with which you have logged in into Visualizer. So this is the user that's present in manage.kony.com. Now that you have set up the Visualizer successfully, let's look at how to install Fabric on my machine. Extract the zip file that got downloaded when you have downloaded the Fabric installer from Basecamp, and double click on the exe file present inside the extracted zip file to launch the Fabric installation. There are few prerequisites for installing Fabric. One of the main prerequisites is to have a database server present on the machine where you are trying to install Fabric. In my case, I am using MySQL on my machine as a prerequisite as the database server for installing Fabric. The Fabric installer is getting launched. This is how the Fabric installer is getting launched. On the first screen of the installer for Fabric, the prerequisites for installing Fabric are listed. As you can see here, one of the prerequisites is to have database server available, against which the Fabric installation would create few DB schemas as part of Fabric installation. Click on Next to go to the next step. Accept the terms and conditions and click on Next. Here I am installing Fabric in the development mode. Select the defaults and click on Next. Select the location where we want to install Fabric on the machine. I am using Tomcat application server for installing Fabric. I am using HTTP for installing Fabric. Select the port number on which you want to install the Tomcat instance as part of Fabric installation. In this step, Fabric installer would create a service on the Windows machine using which you can start and stop the Fabric instance. If you see this error message, it indicates that the Fabric installer is unable to create the Windows service, but you can still proceed with the installation and you can manually start and stop the Fabric instance instead of starting and stopping from the Windows service. In this step, provide the details about the database instance against which you want to run the Fabric installer. Using these details, the Fabric installer will set up few DB schemas against the DB instance that you have provided here. Click on Next. In this step, give the details about the administrator for the Fabric installation. So using these details, you will be able to log in into the Fabric console after the installer has completed the installation. You will be able to preview all the details that you have provided to the installer and click on Next. Now the installer is setting up Fabric on your machine. As part of this, it will set up few database schemas in the database details that you have given to the installer. It will also set up the application server. In this case, we have selected Tomcat, so it will set up Tomcat. and inside the Tomcat it will set up the applications that come as part of Fabric product. This error message shows that the Windows service is unable to start. You can click on Next and proceed with the installation. After the installation is completed, you can start and stop Fabric by using the Tomcat startup script and the shutdown script instead of starting and stopping from the Windows service. Now that the Fabric installation is completed, so this is how the location looks like, which you have selected the location where the Fabric needs to be installed. Inside this, you will have a Tomcat application server. Go to that location and manually start the Tomcat instance. This would start the Fabric environment. As you can see, because this is the first time we are launching Fabric, all the applications as part of Fabric product, accounts, war file, MF console war file, admin war file, and few other war files will get deployed into the Tomcat application server. Once the Fabric instance is up and running, you can open the Fabric instance. As this is the first time you are launching Fabric, and because the Windows service is not set up successfully during the installation of Fabric, once you have started the Fabric instance manually for the first time, it will ask you to give the details about the administrator login, and it will create an account for the administrator in the database schemas that were set up during the installation of Fabric. Once the administrator account is set up successfully, you will be redirected to the login screen of Fabric. Provide the administrator username and password, and you will be able to log in into the Fabric instance. If you are able to log in into the Fabric instance successfully, then the next step is to create an environment inside the Fabric instance. The environment would have been automatically created if the Windows service was able to get created successfully during the installation and launch the Fabric instance. But because we got an error while creating the Windows instance, the environment was not created successfully. So you'll have to manually create the environment as shown here. Provide the details and click on Next to be able to create the environment inside Fabric. You have set up the Fabric successfully. Thank you.